Hey, everybody. Welcome to Game Mess Mornings with me, Jeff Grubb, your host from giantbomb.com. Thank you for tuning in. In this episode, we're going to be talking about the release date for an anticipated sci-fi racing game and reviews for Invincible Versus. It's going to be a good one because we have Shawn, TurboShawn McDowell on the show. Shawn, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, Jeff. I'm happy to be on for no reason in particular, certainly not to talk about any of the headlines of today. But how the hell are you doing, Jeff?
I'm up and down. I thought I was feeling better, and then a lot of that must have been the ibuprofen because it wore off, and the Flonase wore off, and it kind of all just hit me at night, and then nothing was working again. So I just couldn't sleep last night, and mostly because of the cold. But I got to be getting over it soon. I did go to the doctor, just but hey, this is not like an ear infection or something, right? I don't need antibiotics. And it's like, no, it's just it's a viral thing. It should clear up here pretty soon. So hopefully we're almost there. I bet getting some sleep would have helped with that, but fuck me, I guess. I don't know. But that doesn't matter. I'm doing great, Shawn, because we got cool stuff happening on the website. There's the 007 preview happening. People should go check that out right now on giantbomb.com. Jan got a good look at it. He talked to Backlor about it. And I don't know, Jan sounds pretty positive. I'm really looking forward to this game now, Shawn.
If only Jan were here to tell us what he thinks about it a little bit here at the top of the show,
It's like if you mixed Uncharted with Hitman and it's good. And
yeah, that sounds good.
James Bond, very swaggy.
They're pulling off the character. Okay, that's what I was wondering about that. I kind of felt similar to him the way I felt this James Bond for this game, how I felt about Cal Kestis before that game came out. Where I'm like, oh, this guy looks so bland, but I'm hearing swaggy. That seems pretty good. So I'll play it for myself and I'll see. But there's other stuff happening on the site. A review for Invincible Versus went up, written by Shawn McDowell.
You've always been so bad with Irish names, Jeff. I don't blame you.
Shawn, you wrote a review. What's that all about?
I did. I wrote a review for Invincible Versus. My first written review. I realized as I was getting it up on the site with Chuck this morning, he asked me if this was my first one. I think he meant at Giant Bomb. That was my first professional review ever, actually.
Ever.
So
yeah.
I felt the need to do a written review for this one. I usually like to talk with y'all on the review cast. That's something that I've been pushing for a little bit more, along with a couple of people on staff, because I like that format. But this is an important game to me, so I did want to do a written review, because this is sort of the spiritual successor of Killer Instinct. Some of the team that was at Double Helix went on to make Quarter Up, and then now they are over there and they made Invincible Versus, and it's very much a fighting game community effort. I know there's like people, FGC folks came in as employees and testers, like Rip from the Tekken scene. He worked on the game. Maximilian and Justin Wong tested it. They're in the credits. I saw their names. And I really wanted to get a review out there for people because I did have a lot to say about this game. I gave it 3.5 stars. If you have a problem with the half star, take it up with Dan Reichert. I use his review system.
Yep, that's right.
But because that in my head is a good, not great game. And I think I say in my review, Invincible Versus is 2 halves of an uneven whole, because the fighting game that's there, the core fighting game, is super, super fun. It is an accessible version of Marvel versus Capcom. Because of the lineage of the studio, they've added some Killer Instinct isms in there, like the combo meter, that when a person is doing a combo to you, they have to be careful not to do too long of a combo. They have to sort of cash it out before the meter fills up. Otherwise, you fall out of the combo. That's to keep it from, if you see Marvel versus Capcom at high level, you sit there for like a minute watching a combo happen, right? And that can feel bad to be on the receiving end of. No, there's stuff like that in there to make sure that doesn't happen too much. There's a bunch of defensive options. Like, for example, when there's a counter tags where the opponent calls in a tag to like extend their combo, you can like parry the tag. And that's a really satisfying feeling, because if you do
that's crazy.
Yeah, you cancel out the combo and you like sort of reset to neutral. There's some of those Killer Instinct isms in there to keep it feeling like there's a two-way street in a tag team fighting game. So yeah, it's more accessible on that formula as ever been, and I had a blast playing it. By myself. I played with Mike a little bit in the review period. I had a friend over so we could test local versus. Had a blast. However, the single player modes, very lacking. There's a cinematic story mode, kind of NetherRealm style, you know, big flashy cutscenes. They're beautifully animated. It looks very Spider-Verse, and I think it looks great. And fights in between these cutscenes. But Jeff, when they said that it's like playing an episode of the show, it's like playing an episode of the show. They made 25 minutes of animation for this, basically an episode.
Oh, sure.
And yeah, so including fights, the story mode is like an hour long. And it's poorly written too. It's the fighting game classic of there's a big misunderstanding and now we have to fight each other. And
right.
Yeah, so it's a bad episode of the show and it's short. And then the only other single player mode is to do the arcade ladders, which have endings that are disappointing. So if you're a casual fan, it is a tough recommendation. It's really for people who are already into tag fighters. If you're into Killer Instinct, honestly, also worth a look. Or people who want to get into tag fighters, because it's the most accessible that's ever been. It's like, it's so funny for this game to come out now because the fighting game community just had this whole conversation for weeks about, are fighting games good products? This, someone put out a blog post. FGC said it was an article and everyone made YouTube videos on it. I read that blog post. Jeff, I don't know if you've ever seen the Chris Who describes the DHC glitch in Marvel 3 classic YouTube video, but the summary is he goes, so you do a combo into another combo, and then that combo is not actually a combo, but that combo, still a combo. You understand what I'm saying? Hell no. The fuck did you just say? That was me reading that blog post, but irrelevant because the conversation that was had is, are fighting games good products? It got everybody talking. And then this game comes out and it is a fighting game. It's a fighting game, but yeah, it's maybe not the best product at $50.
Yeah, it sounds like the exact worst case scenario for the person. I remember the people I remember seeing when this game was announced, where it's like, we don't want this, we want a real video game. And I was like, shut up. Fighting games, you gotta just get good. Shut up. And then it's like, well, okay. You get on the other side, you get here, and it's like, yeah, all those fears you had about this game not being able to satisfy your desires as when they go in here and playing as a single player, a game that kind of tells a story. Yeah, you were right to be fearful of all that stuff. It is bad. But do you want to play a fighting game? And then they yell no. So yeah, I get it. But man, I'm glad to hear that it's carrying that Killer Instinct vibe forward. That was one of those games where it's like, I very casual into fighting games, but there's ones where I'm like, I noticed the general characteristic here of like the recent Tekken game where it really does feel like you are straight up taking turns, kind of just hurting each other, which is, that there's a space for that. And there's, you just got to get good at stopping stuff from happening. Sure.
People don't like that though. I will say competitively, people hate that Tekken 8. You watch a combo for 10 seconds and then it's like you guess. And if you guess wrong, you watch another 10-second combo.
Right, exactly. So having like stuff built in to mitigate that a little bit and to think about it at least, that's right. Exciting to hear. I'm going to play this. I like Invincible a lot. The comic, especially the show's pretty good, often very good. So yeah, I'll check this out and I will be prepared to be disappointed by the single player. We'll talk a little bit more about the reviews here in a second, but let's get to that point and let's explain ourselves. We're Giant Bomb. We're independent games media. Support us. Go to giantbomb.com/join and become a premium member. Now's the time to do it. There is always more cool stuff happening. Of course, ad-free versions of our shows, but also premium-only stuff or premium early stuff. Like, hey, we're going to be dropping the Endurance Run here pretty soon. If you're a premium member, you're going to get those episodes early, and you're going to want to see the stuff. It was a lot of fun recording Bully with Mike, and we'll have that going up every weekday for the foreseeable future until that run is done. As far as this show goes, though, most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS feed on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with those Invincible versus reviews. I think it was a 79 on OpenCritic. I didn't see anything on Metacritic yet, but when I last checked, 79 on OpenCritic.
It's 77 on Metacritic. It's as more reviews are coming in, it's dropping a little bit because there are a lot of 7 out of 10s.
Yes, there's a lot of 7 out of 10s is what I was going to say. Exactly, Shawn, where it's not necessarily one of those ones where there's a ton of spread. There's a lot of people who are just kind of dialing in that 3.5 stars or 7 out of 10. And
mostly 7s and 8s. There are some outliers. I saw like
yes,
6. I saw a 9 or 2. Yeah.
Yeah, but the bell curve is definitely very heavy in the middle on those 7s. 3.5 stars from you. It's got an 8.5 out of 10 from Cody Medellin at Worth Playing, who says Invincible Versus ends up being a very solid 3v3 tag team fighting game. The fighting system is familiar but solid, and even though it doesn't offer anything revolutionary over other tag fighters, its accessibility ensures that players of all skill levels will immediately be able to have fun. The mode selection is small but provides a good amount of entertainment thanks to the brutality of each fight and the number of unlockables. With a solid presentation behind it, Invincible Versus is a very enjoyable fighting game for fans of the show and genre alike. We got it, everybody. 7 out of 10 from Luis Joshua Gutierrez at Tech Raptor, who says Invincible Versus doesn't have a steep learning curve like many fighting games in the genre, but it is easy to pick up and understand, even if that's to a fault. Yeah. So, I mean, what do you think the fate is for this game? What does that even mean for fighting games these days, Shawn?
See, that's the funny thing, because when it's more about the future of development of the game is what these early sales mean, and it's what the single player content, getting out there to a casual audience. Because that's most people who play a fighting game, they just play the single player stuff. Like by the numbers, like we saw that with Street Fighter 6. The Steam numbers were always huge, but not because of the online, because people were hanging out in World Tour mode. And so I think that's bring it back to the whole product thing again. That's what you need nowadays, is something like that World Tour mode in Street Fighter 6. Tekken 8 having like a lengthier story mode and like a smaller one on top of that. You need some kind of hook to keep people there, because after all that's said and done, everyone just hits online or drops the game, one or the other. And so with very little single player content, I think a lot of people are going to drop the game, but I really hope that a like competitive scene rises up around this game, because it is very fun to play competitively. It might even end up being like Killer Instinct, which had a pretty big casual audience. Yeah. And then, the competitive audience sort of funneled, but they stayed with it for a very long time.
They had a very long tail at competitions, for sure.
Yeah, Combo Breaker still gets like a couple hundred people competing in it. And that's like a 13-year-old game. That's super cool. I fear that might be the case with Invincible, which is not what you want when you have like a pretty major and mainstream IP. I think it was just a little bit misguided to focus on that competitive nature rather than, it's probably a publisher decision to not necessarily get the budget and time that needed to have a bigger single player mode, which I think is what, fans of the show who want to come in and get more Invincible would have liked out of this.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on to the next story here. PlayStation finally explains that 30-day timer for digital games, says it's only a one-time check. There's still some questions around it, but they are now acknowledging it. This is the maybe the end of this saga. We've kind of touched on this story almost every day for the last week. Like I said, Chris Scullion of VGC writes, after days of speculation and theorizing, Sony has finally released a statement about the 30-day timers on new digital game purchases on PS4 and PS5. Earlier this week, it was reported that the new version, 13.20 update for the PlayStation 5 console, appeared to have also brought with it a form of digital rights management in which digitally purchased games have to be verified. The theory, tested by numerous YouTube channels, was that any digital game purchased on or after a certain date appeared to have a 30-day timer applied, suggesting that if the player didn't play the game for 30 days, they would have to connect their console online to renew the license and reset the timer to 30 days again. When the players started reporting that the timers were disappearing, a new theory emerged that the 30-day timer was only a temporary one to avoid pirates using refund exploits, and that the license would become permanent after 14 days. Now, Sony has officially confirmed that players don't have to verify the games every 30 days, and that the initial timer is indeed a one-off check. Here's how they explain it. Players can continue to access and play their purchased games as usual, a spokesperson for PlayStation told GameFile. A one-time online check is required after purchase to confirm the game's a license, after which no further check-ins are needed. While the spokesperson didn't go into details on exactly why the online check has been added, the most popular current theory is that it prevents pirates from making use of an exploit in PlayStation's refund system. That sounds right to me, Shawn. The whole thing smacks of, the tape on the big bucket of water, and there's like, I got a fix for it. I'll just slap this tape on there, and there we go. And then everyone's like, wait, what the fuck is this tape? Like that's what it seems like to me, that they had a fix in mind for a very specific problem. They tried to just be like, this is not some new feature. This is not some new public initiative that we're trying to explain. So they did not have the language ready to address it, because this probably came from like a security team internally. And they tried to make it as light touch as possible. People still noticed, and yeah, here we are. So there probably is some refund exploit that people found, and this was the fix. What do you think, Shawn?
Yeah, you know why this is an issue is because people are starting to pirate PS4 and PS5 games, and the pirates are finding out, oh wait a minute, there's DRM here. And I'm like, I've been seeing this story float around, like Miles talked about it yesterday. I'm like, yeah, dog. Digital games are DRM'd. You're buying into a DRM scheme. There's DRM no matter what. Like it's a little funny to be like, oh, this is a preservation problem or whatever. Console digital games are always an issue of preservation. You are not going to preserve them unless you find a way to pirate them. That's just how it is. So yeah, I don't think an additional layer of DRM is that big of a deal, because you need to download the game from their servers in order to have it. So of course it's also going to do a check-in to make sure that you're not abusing that whole process. So it seems a little bit silly, this entire story to me, frankly, Jeff.
Yeah, there was always a check as you were downloading. It's like now you're right. They just added one more check on the other side of that. And yeah, I think people just see something like this, and then they extrapolate because we were like, what else are they capable of? What else will this do? And people do want to have access to even their digitally purchased games in perpetuity, and they're like, oh, I can imagine a world where the servers do go offline, and if I already have them on my system, if I don't do a 30-day check, I can't play them. So, well, that's not what's happening here, but I do see why you drew the line between those two things. But yeah, this story from the beginning has always been. It doesn't seem like Sony's doing the thing they said they wouldn't do, but people are worried that they're doing it. And it's like, yeah, we could talk about that because, right, the slippery slope argument, I think, does apply here. I do think Sony stands at the top of a slippery slope where if they fall down, it's like, oh, yeah, they could easily fall into one of these pits of making the experience of playing these digitally purchased games worse. This doesn't necessarily seem like it's going to do that.
I honestly don't even think it's a slippery slope. I think we're already there. I forget which game it was, but there was some game that had a problem, like an actual security issue or whatever, and they yanked it from people's consoles. Like it was something that people had already downloaded, and if you were connected to the internet, there would be a ping, and they would delete it from your SSD. Like that's what you buy into with these systems. You have to know that going in, and that's why more and more outlets, for example, like Steam key resellers especially, but I think if they sell console games as well, they try to make this clear. Well, this was a California law that passed or whatever, saying you're buying a license. You're not buying a product. You're buying access to this game that can be revoked at any time. That's what's in the fine print. And that's why I think I saw some people in chat saying that this is a non-story. And I think it's worth talking about, if nothing else, for awareness of, digital games are a scheme that you're buying into. If you're okay trading convenience for ownership, that's the trade-off that you're making, but you have to know what you're buying into.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to concede the conversation's point because having the conversation, there is something real to that as well. It's not just the letter of the law of the user agreement that you're signing and screw you, whatever they decide to do, you're beholden to. Of course, we know that is technically true, but we also know that these companies are susceptible to pressure campaigns and that everyone in this industry remembers what did happen to Xbox when the Xbox One launched. And it's like, hey, everyone wants to be on the right side of the gamer opinion on some of these issues, unless it's like, maybe it's not as hot of a button or not as hot of a topic as it once was. Maybe we can get away with more. It's like, this does show that people are very sensitive to this still, even if it's not, even none of it is exactly meeting the fears that we did have early on. Although I think, God, the first time we brought up the story, I think it was like, it's an nevertheless story. Like, we knew this was never really the threat that people thought it was. But still, it's like, people are worried. Let's figure out what's going on here. Now we have our answer. It is all of these things that we said. And Shawn, you're right. It's like, if people are concerned about the very specific things around having access to your games, there's, you can get physical where you can, and then wait for the hackers, wait for it to get cracked open. Eventually everything becomes a PC game, and maybe that's where you should be looking for that stuff.
And that's why it's important that pirates do find these things, because frankly, like, until the industry gets its shit together and is better about preserving games, that is the ultimate preservation tool, is piracy. And it's unfortunate, and it should not be that way, but that's where we're at right now, where eventually these digital purchases will stop working in the sense that you can no longer download them. It's going to be a long time from now, because like, I imagine now we have backwards compatibility in every PlayStation. That's not going to be an actual concern for a very long time. But someday it will happen, and at that point, the only way to get the games will be fans preserving them, and that's just where we're at.
Yeah, to me, the final point on this, excuse me, is that maybe the thing that I found most interesting is that Sony did this and did not have language ready to go right away, because it did not occur to them, and it's like, that is a different world than what we were in. This is like 5 years ago. All the people that would have been making these decisions at Sony would have been like, hey, that sounds like it's going to get, some people riled up. Let's make sure that we know how we're handling this. And it just didn't occur to Sony until a week later to have an answer to this publicly, because I don't think it's high up on their concerns, or when they talk to gamers, I don't think they see this as a concern. So it's, once again, like, they are going to see what they can get away with. And this is like just a very tiny little thing, adding another DRM check. That doesn't really change much, but it is a new DRM check. It's like, that once would have set off alarm bells, and it didn't anymore. So I do wonder, like, is the new leadership at these companies that has turned over as sensitive to that stuff as the previous leadership?
I will say that's not necessarily even a new DRM check. It's new in the way it's been implemented, but it's basically they've just like lengthened the initial check is what it is. It's like a second layer of the thing that was already there. But yeah, it's also, I think that you're right to point out that it is an optics issue, and the fact that this is a struggle when we talk about these stories, because the casual gamer, no idea that this is happening. They don't care. They download GTA 5 on their PS5 and they just play the game like always.
Sometimes these stories do break out there. You're right. This one's not.
Sometimes they do. But I think this one in particular, this is more of the hardcore gamer thing, which is a sizable portion of the audience. That's a lot of the audience. And so you're right that they probably should have thought about this more, at the very least, if they were going to implement some kind of new check.
All right, let's keep going here. Star Wars Galactic Racer confirmed release date and a $160 physical collector's edition. This is from Andy Robinson at VGC. Star Wars Galactic Racer has been confirmed for release on October 6th, alongside a roster of different game editions. Galactic Racer is the debut game from Fuse Games, the studio set up in 2023 by a team of former Criterion leads. Pre-orders are open today, with digital standard and deluxe editions, as well as a physical collector's edition available for PS5, Xbox, and PC, starting at $60. Star Wars Galactic Racer invites fans, the price scheme all starts at $60. I don't know if the physical collector's edition does. Star Wars Galactic Racer invites race fans to join the Galactic Lead and an unsanctioned racing circuit born in the lawless outer rim of the Star Wars galaxy. Game looks better every time we see it, Shawn. Every time we see him, it's like, oh man, this thing looks like it's going to have an interesting cinematic story mode on top of this cool racing stuff. And it's got all these different kinds of Star Wars vehicles that people are racing in this game. And look at that, it's Ben Quadraneros. Let's get him. Let's represent some quad in our lives. And then to hear a release date like this, it's like, oh yeah, this thing's real. I can start officially getting excited about this thing. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, it turns out a good cinematic story mode gets you excited for a video game, huh? Interesting.
Yeah, right?
But yeah, like you said, every time we see it, it looks cooler and cooler. I did not expect the style that this game was going to have from the initial reveal. and just the legacy of that name, Star Wars Racer. I thought it would be more of like an old school arcade racer, like fast paced and everything, but not necessarily over the top. And this seems more like the Burnout series. And I forget what's the lineage of the studio. What they like a lot of these people worked on before.
Criterion.
It was Burnout. Okay.
Yes.
So that's why we see that in there, which makes a lot of sense.
Yes, very much so.
I'm glad that they're bringing that to this one because that most recent trailer that we saw, it just, as you would say, Grubb, it looks shit hot. It looks fantastic.
It's coming together in a lot of great ways. The promise of there being like a lot of cool content for people to explore in a single player setting, and then it's going to be a fun. There was a time where it's like, oh yeah, I would sit down and definitely play this game. A game like this locally multiplayer, but I'm saying that it's like that was the N64. That was a long time ago. But I'll still play this game multiplayer probably a couple times. But yeah, like you said, most people play the single player content for these kinds of games. Fighting games, racing games can be pretty similar in some ways. I'm glad it looks like they seem to be getting that stuff all together. The one thing I hope they have is the boost system from Star Wars Racer. For episode 1 Racer, it is once you get on a straight, you could begin, and you don't need to turn as much. You hold the throttle forward, not the throttle, you hold the steering forward, the analog stick like forward, and that begins to fill up a meter. And as long as you don't disrupt holding forward, once it fills up the meter, you press forward again, and you get this awesome boost. So it's like this, can I find the straights? Can I get away with this before the next turn? Or maybe I have to make a micro adjustment, and that's going to break it. Can I kind of nudge the stick while holding it forward still and stay on the track? It does a really great job of keeping you engaged during the races. I don't know if every vehicle needs to have that boost, but I hope the pod racers, those options have that as their control scheme.
Yeah, it'd be cool if they had different sort of schemes for each car or something like that. Yeah, that'd be interesting. Have some weird stuff too, what the GameCube launch game that had an El Camino in it or whatever. Have weird stuff like that. I like that.
Yes. I would, yeah, absolutely. Pay homage to George Lucas's car fetish. He grew up as a car guy, and bring in a bunch of weird stuff that he would like. I think that would be cool. Yeah, let's see here. Gene Jack in chat says that they did release a teaser trailer for Krager's Resident Evil. I didn't see that. Have you seen anything about it so far? I was wondering if there's word on the street yet. I'll take a look here in a second. We'll take a break though, so we'll come back and maybe have something about that and plenty of other headlines. Everybody, if you want to skip out on these, go to giantbomb.com/join, become a premium member. We will be right back. We are back, and I mean. Shawn, who's also here. I'm Jeff Grubb. It's Game S Mornings. Shawn, I love this in chat. It is one of my favorite things that happened during Blight Club yesterday, where we asked the chat their opinion on something, and back to back, you get the exact opposite opinions. Every possible. And that's what's happened with this Resident Evil teaser. Chuck says it looks bad. IMO. And then Lexi says it looks neat. All caps. Right. Back to back, basically. I don't know. For video game movies, I really kind of hold these in reserve before I start getting excited about them at all. I think I wait for reviews or the first real trailer for something I'm really interested in, like a Mario movie. I've maybe watched that first Resident Evil movie. Obviously, this is Zach Krager. He's a very talented director. He's done some awesome. He's a great comedian too. The Whitest Kids You Know is some very funny stuff. So I'm looking forward to it based on that pedigree. But yeah, I don't know. Video game movies. What do you think?
Usually bad.
Usually bad, right?
Bad.
It's safe to avoid them.
Yeah, so I think that's why some of those standout ones are so standout. Historically, the campier ones are standouts because we like them, despite the fact that they might also actually be bad. I think that's why we're looking forward to stuff like the Street Fighter movie, looking pretty good because it's just we're just gonna lean into the hokiness. Screw it. We know video games are kind of hokey. So I'll have to watch this trailer, but I'm interested to see how it goes because it might be one of the only truly good video game movies if it looks good.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, let's continue with our headlines as we have them written down here. Dragon Quest XI Echoes of Elusive Age gets a definitive edition rated for Switch 2 in Taiwan. I'm going to combine this with the next story. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle gets its first extended Switch 2 gameplay. support for Switch 2 continues. We're getting this with Dragon Quest, which is a game that is, that S, I think, initially was supposed to indicate, hey, it's coming to the Switch, and it had some cool new features. I can't remember if it had the new music and stuff, but it had some cool new features, and it's like, it got special treatment on the Switch 1, but, they always have to compact these things to get them down onto the Switch 1 in some ways. So they're still seeing it as worthy of their time to take these ports of games that a lot of people on the system probably already own and do a Switch 2 version of them, a definitive edition up here. That game could, like, a definitive edition could release everywhere. I think it probably is. Yes, it's going to be coming to PlayStation 4 and Xbox One and all this stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe. So, and then on the other hand, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, a game that's, one of those ones you would probably file under close to a miracle port for the Switch 2. I think that's probably a misnomer at this point because the Switch 2 is a lot more capable than I think we give it credit for. I think we're all still traumatized from the Switch 1 in a lot of ways. But it seems like the support is continuing from third parties. What do you think?
So I pulled up the preview here just to take a look at the footage, and it looks pretty solid. I think this is continuing the trend of Indiana Jones, to be clear.
Yes.
I think it's continuing the trend of the Switch 2 getting impressively solid ports, in part because, it can lean on things like DLSS to upscale the image and make it look attractive from lower resolutions, because rendering it at that lower resolution, having lower quality textures, gonna make it easy on that handheld hardware that's upscaling to give you a console style presentation. Yeah, the footage is looking good. It's running at 30, and I believe it's running at 30. At least it looks that way to my eyes.
I bet it is.
Counted. I would be shocked if it was 60.
Me too.
Yeah, it's looking pretty good, and I think it with the other half of this two-part story we're doing here with Dragon Quest, I'm sort of just like, neat, cool.
Yeah.
It's good that we're getting proper updates to beloved games to make them run and look better on the Switch too. I think that's just a great thing for a system in general, because I think so far the Switch 2 has felt a bit like the gamers gaming system. I'm not sure how much it's broken out into the mainstream. I just know anecdotally people I've talked to are like, I don't need a Switch 2 yet. Like, eventually I will, but like right now, a ton of exclusives. The games look better, I guess. I have a PlayStation for that, so like I'm not really concerned about that. So I still think it's neat though that they are building up this library though, because then you'll have the exclusives and the games that are multi-platform and just look solid here and can be someone's only gaming system if all they're into is Nintendo.
Yeah, I think that the thing for the Switch 2 is that the genres that they've tried to like poke a hole through to get like, hey, can the Switch 2 burst into that scene? The ones they've tried that for have worked so far, and that being Tomodachi Life and Pocopia. Tomodachi Life is a Switch 1 game, but it still seems like it has benefited the Switch 2. Pocopia certainly has, and it's like, okay, so like you were saying, the gamers console so far, people that are going to show up for these things no matter what, they did show up in droves, and that has mostly been saturated. So what happens next? And I think it's a question of, well, once they release the games that can do that, it will, and Smash Brothers being one of the main ones there. We'll have to see what they're going to plan with that. That next Nintendo Direct feels like anything could happen, and it also feels like it could be all the stuff we've heard and nothing else. So it could be like Star Fox, could be the Zelda remake, or it could be, who knows at this point, because that stuff has not been confirmed one way or the other. So we'll see. I'm with you. It's nice to see that, like, neat. Glad the support's still coming. I don't want third parties to get turned away from the Switch. I want them to feel like they can succeed there. Doesn't seem like anything's like really breaking out, maybe a handful of things here or there, but I do think like the momentum is building for people to be like, you know what, I will get this on the Switch too.
Yeah, definitely.
Tomodachi Life, speaking of, keeps on rolling. Then the Pragmata Switch 2 version did drop in Japan. Tomodachi Life, Living the Dream, is still number one on the Japanese chart, according to Famitsu, who tracks physical sales in Japan. So this is physical only. It sold another 178,533 copies at retail, and then that brings its total over 2 weeks to, well, maybe like closer to like 10 days, to 743,000 copies sold. Really, 744,000 copies sold. Yes, it is massively huge. That is certainly going to mean that the game is over 1 million in Japan alone when you combine in the digital. And as a point of comparison, Pacopia was number 2 for that week. It sold 17,000, and that's number 2. Now that game is almost at 1 million as well. It's at 927,000 copies sold. That's Switch 2, right? Only that it's listed here as
Pacopia,
Switch.
yeah.
Yes, so that's Switch 2 only. Tomodachi Life has a little bit more of an advantage being available on the system that has over 100 million units out there, not just in Japan, of course. Pragmata, though, did also drop on Switch 2. It was on the PS5 only last week in Japan. Dropped a few days later, got onto this chart with 14,000 copies sold new first week. That is pretty close to what I think the PS5 version did. The PS5 version did about 30,000 in its first week. So that's where new games usually are in Japan. And then Tomodachi Life is in this other stratosphere. And it's like, okay, yeah, I just think that, man, that they really like that game there. And also, what is kind of going on with other game sales in Japan? It's like, I think they're just cool in general.
Yeah, I was sort of doing like mental math on this whole thing of like Pragmata releasing the previous week on PS5 over there, and then you had to wait for Switch 2. And this week, the Switch 2 version is outselling the PS5 version. I suppose in total, or like if we had compared Switch 2 sales this week when it's new to the PS5 sales when it was new, PS5 was still outselling the Switch 2 version. Okay. I was curious because handheld gaming is so big in Japan, and the Switch family of systems now is where a lot of people buy their games. But it looks like for a big AAA title like Pragmata, even coming from a Japanese company like Capcom, people are playing it on their PS5s. They want the graphical fidelity over there, just like we do over here. The convenience of the handheld did not win out in this one, it would appear. I guess maybe we'll see if that changes, like if it has a long tail on Switch 2 or something like that. But it seems to be like a nice to have for them. But yeah, like you were alluding to, the big story here is Tomodachi Life is just selling bonkers over there, which is kind of wild. It's not, I wouldn't say it's unexpected considering the type of game it is, being a social game and everything like that. I think even we talked about that last week or something. But it's crazy to see the 6-figure digit next to all the other 5-figure digits below it,
Yes, exactly. It really is huge. Tomodachi Life always been very popular in Japan, so kind of getting the Switch boost here a little bit. That's going to help. Let's see here. We'll get to this next story. I was going to bring up one other thing, I think, but no, let's go ahead and move on. So PS5's Plague Tale Prequel set for release in 2026 still. They revealed some story details as well. This is from Liam Croft at Push Square. Asobo Studios has resurfaced to confirm Residents of Plague Tale Legacy, its prequel to the 2 current Plague Tale games, is still on course for a 2026 release. Asobo is the Microsoft Flight Simulator team, right? I'm pretty sure they are.
Yes, believe so.
Yes, and then they do this Plague Tale series as well. I was always like, hey, is the Microsoft Flight Simulator going to distract them so much that they stopped doing these standalone kind of adventure games that a lot of people liked? I feel like Jan maybe liked one of these Plague Tale games. I could be misremembering that, but I know some people really do it. Yeah, okay. Yes, that's right. That's you played them and it was but yeah, people do. There is an audience for these, and they're still making them. This game coming out this year. I do wonder, okay, a prequel. Are people still hot enough on this series? I don't hear a lot of people talking about this one. Is all, Shawn. What do you think?
Yeah, Plague Tale is not something I've ever been into, and I don't know many people who are. It seems like one of those games that has found a smaller audience, and that is enough. That audience is sizable enough to keep it going. But yeah, I don't know much about it other than like Digital Foundry loves it because of some of the tech on display. And
right,
god damn, that's a lot of rats on screen.
Yes, it's a ton of rats. Yeah. Oh my god, I'm so excited about all these rats. Exactly. And I bet this game's still going to continue down that line of being able to like, oh man, that's a ton of particle effects. I don't know, when it's like a bunch of animals running around, it's probably not right, but
a lot of like technically would that be NPC AI running at once on a processor is always kind of impressive, and they have to like figure out tricks to make that work and have it be convincing and stuff. I think it's maybe more of a technical showpiece than like a breakout hit in terms of gameplay and story, even though if I've heard people like those.
Yep, exactly. PlayStation Plus May lineup is confirmed. EA Sports FC 26, Wuchang, and 9 Souls. And I think a lot of people are pointing out that, hey, that 9 Souls feels like a really cool get for this. Like that's what I was browsing Reddit, And that was one of the big reactions, was everyone being like, hey, don't sleep on Nine Souls. That's a lot of fun. I started Nine Souls. It is a Metroidvania game where you play as a cat, 9 souls, 9 lives. And it's got cool combat. I fell off. I'm in a weird place with like, man, a Metroidvania really needs to like take over my life in like that first 45 minutes to an hour. And then I'm hooked and I'll see the thing through. And if I'm kind of like after that point, still like, I get it, I'm going to put it down. That's where I was with Nine Souls. I regret that because Mike played through it and he said some of the bosses were really good, and I was definitely in the mood for that. But yeah, I think this is an opportunity for a lot of people to discover this game, and it seems like people are going to, because they're talking about it here in the May PS Plus lineup. Is that one you tried out? Yeah, go ahead.
No, Nine Souls not as much because of it's a Metroidvania, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and indie Metroidvanias tend to have a specific flavor of that search action genre to it, and just oftentimes I'm not into what they're putting down as much as I am just going to play a Metroid game, because like I mentioned before, I'm not as into the Castlevania influence, which is what a lot of these have. I might check it out though after the way Mike talked about. I think I got a Humble Bundle, so I could even just fire it up.
Sure.
So yeah, I think I want to check it out at some point at the very least. But I think it's a solid lineup in general, and it seems like it's catering to a couple different audiences. EA Sports FC, one of the newer football games. It's makes sense to have that go out to a lot of people. Wuchang can't be discounted because I think review scores were a little divisive there, but I played a little bit of that. Seemed like a solid Souls-like experience to me. Maybe nothing special, but if you're looking for a new one, why not? So yeah, I think it's a solid PlayStation Plus lineup. As people look for ways to save money, but also play a solid amount of games, they'll definitely be looking to stuff like their existing PS Plus subscriptions and hoping that the lineup is strong that month. And this one seems like a good one.
Yeah, these you're right. These Souls-like games always live a couple different lives where the initial reaction is, let's directly compare this. Does it stand up to the From games? And it's, that usually that's going to be pretty tough for these games, and that's where the reviews really come down. This is a 74% on Metacritic. And then later people are like, you know what? There's not a new From game right now. I've played them all 5 times. Let me try one of these other ones. Oh, Lies of P is really good. Let me get some of these others. And you kind of start going down some tiers. And this game waiting for people like that. It'll treat them right. It is good enough in a lot of ways. And I know there's some people who really love the game. So yeah, this feels like a really good lineup for PlayStation Plus. How you feeling about these subscription services and continuing to add games? At this point, I'm drowning in games. I know everyone is not in my situation, so I am curious, how does the normal person feel about the PlayStation Plus things, the Xbox library, stuff like that?
Oh, Jeff. I'm a PC player. I left the subscriptions behind a long time ago. When I fired up Black Ops 6, you remember that disc that I got Black Ops 6? And I told you about how you download Black Ops 7 instead. I was kind of pissed off about that.
Yeah, that
when I went to go play it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I also remembered I needed PlayStation Plus to play that game online. I'm like, oh, goddamn, I forgot. I'm so used to Warzone when me and my friends fired that up every, once a month or whatever. That's just free to play. And no, this game that I paid money for, I need to pay additional money for to play online. Damn. But when it comes to the subscriptions as ways to get games, I'm also kind of over that as well. It's tough being a PC player and trying to look at the stuff when I look at my $15 going to a Humble Bundle, or Finacle has their all superstar bundles or whatever they call them, where again $15 and you get a solid amount of Capcom games, and you can get an Ace Attorney and a Mega Man and something else for around $15. So not as appealing to me anymore. But like I said, I do know plenty of people who still rely on that to be an accessible way to get games. And yeah, that's why it's good to see them continue to do well.
There's all kinds of different people out there, and it's I think everyone, maybe at the end of the day, it looks similar because everyone just wants to be playing new and cool video games. But for some people, it's I'm not going to go out there and hunt for deals and try to get the most out of there, even though it does seem like for bang for your buck, if you kind of are able to wait for deals and wait for Humble Bundles, you're often better off. But it's I'm busy. And you know what? I'll just give me a free game this month and I want to see what it is. I don't even want to think about what it is. Put it in front of me. Maybe I'll like it. Maybe I won't.
Yeah, that is a funny, I'll try to keep this as a quick talking point, but something I've thought about a lot recently is the fact that a lot of people want to be part of the conversation. so much that they
FOMO's
want to
real.
buy. Yeah, they want to buy a new video game right when it comes out. But then they're pissed that it's $70 or $80, which, that's a lot of money. I don't blame you for being mad. But dog, wait a month or two. And even just that amount of time, it'll be like $10, $20 off. Wait for Black Friday that year. It'll be like half off, sometimes less. Be a patient gamer and you are going to save a crap ton of money, especially if you don't even like the game. If you're not someone who like trades in or resells, like wait until that game is cheaper, whatever that price needs to be for you, and check it out. With my Invincible versus review, I don't like bringing up price when it relates to a game when we're talking about critically. Invincible versus one where I'm like, okay, the single player offerings are so like thin.
Yeah, you know what
the $50 felt weird. Yeah, it's like, oh, that's the sweet spot where it becomes a talking point. But you know what, Jeff? For like the other like indie / like lower AA fighting games that are like $30, like the Avatar fighting game coming out soon is going to be $30. Invincible Versus is a banger at $30, and like I hope that game does really well. If the price goes down a little bit and it like cuts the edge of having to pay that much for a thin single player experience, y'all, we can do this with every game. Like I know developers and publishers might not want to hear that, but hey, look out for yourself and do what's best for you.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. And I think the point about people wanting to be a part of the conversation, I mean, that's where it's like you got to get into your Discords and make friends that will talk about games with you whenever you want.
Get it.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. And but it's right. And then I get it when people are like, but the Discord's popping off about the game at launch. It's like, yeah, but no, I mean a smaller like room of your friends that like, hey, let's hop into this game right now. And maybe they still don't want to, but you could still talk about it with them. And you gotta have to break yourself free a little bit for sure. Talking about media is social currency, right? People want to be able to like share experiences with one another. Video games offer a really accessible way of doing that. So I don't blame anyone for hopping on because they want to do that specifically. I get it.
I think as everything gets more expensive, though, more and more people are becoming the patient gamer, the patient moviegoer, and waiting for stuff. And I think that'll get more and more normalized as we're all trying to get through it.
For sure. Speaking of subscriptions, I don't know if we talked about it on this show or even on the Bombcast. There was that Final Fantasy 14 stuff. Do you see this? How the subscription works on Switch 2?
Let me tell you about Last of the Nintendogs, the hit podcast where me and Mike spent way too damn long talking about Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah.
But yeah, with the subscription there, it is you need to pay a subscription to play Final Fantasy 14 on your Switch 2. That is not the same as the PC subscription. The reason that's an issue is because the PC subscription allows you to play on PlayStation as well, because PlayStation does not require you to pay a separate one, and they don't even require you to have PlayStation Plus. So like if you are a paying PC player of 14, you just need to buy the game on PlayStation, and that seems to be good enough for Sony. Not for Nintendo.
No,
for Nintendo.
Not for Nintendo.
You need a standalone subscription, but if you already have a PC subscription, or technically, that discount, technically if you're a PlayStation player also, subscriber or whatever, you can get a discount on the subscription on Switch. I asked Mike because he would know better than I do. Apparently, we don't know the pricing at all in either scenario, full price or discount. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like similar to the PC pricing where full price subscription is $12 for the light version, I believe, which is this like, the basic no frills, one character play through the story is $12 a month. Wouldn't be surprised if it's like half price on Switch, like same pricing, $12 and then $6 if you have both or something, but still a little unfortunate that Nintendo's squeezing you for that.
Yeah, it feels a little bit like Nintendo, come on, but
you don't need NSO at the very least.
Yes,
but it's also, that's a fine thing to say because NSO is $20 a year.
Right, and a lot of people probably have NSO, so it's like, well, that doesn't fucking help me. I want NSO for all these other. Yeah, I wish it did. I wish kind of did need it so I could justify it even more. Yeah, it's silly. All right, last couple of stories. NACON Connect returns May 7th after a delay. NACON Connect 2026 is now, I feel like I'm saying naked. NACON Connect 2026 is now set for May 7th after being postponed in February. Insider Gaming says the showcase will include announcements, accessory previews, and gameplay for titles including The Mound, Edge of Memories, Endurance Motorsport Series, and Hunter the Reckoning Death Wish. This was one of those ones where it's like, it's getting delayed because there were some troubles at the company. and felt like, hey, maybe this just never happens because NACON's going to collapse. But they've rescheduled this, and they've rescheduled it to kind of get out ahead of the Summer Game Fest time. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. The NACON's a smaller publisher. Some of these are some smaller games. I guess the Hunter the Reckoning, that could that's one that I recognize that, but that's because it was like an older GameCube cooperative action adventure RPG kind of game, and me and my friends played a ton of that. I don't think that one has huge name recognition outside of that, but they're not collapsing. They're putting on a show. What do you make of this?
It's still interesting to me that they're like are these games that they are publishing that we're talking about here?
Yes, I believe so. Yes.
Okay, that's still interesting to me because I definitely associate with them with being a controller company.
Yeah, they'll have accessories as well. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's like exclusively how I think of them because they show up to Combo Breaker and Evo with their new fight sticks and stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know what to expect because these names don't mean much to me. I know that one means something to you. But outside of that, I look at those and I'm like, man, those sound like titles where I'm like flipping through the Walmart bargain bin. I see Endurance Motorsport pop up. So
right, that's below like the Crew Motorfest, right? Like, yeah, like I mean not that that's like some trash game, but it's like people don't talk about the Crew, and this is below that.
Yeah, I don't want to be too mean because developers work hard. I don't want to like just shit on their product or anything like that. But
that's not about quality. It's just like this is not like on the tip of people's tongues.
Yeah, I don't know her. I don't really know any of these styles, so not a lot to be excited for me.
And then Xbox revenue was down across content, services, gaming, and hardware. It's just kind of across the board. Hardware, not surprising that it's down 33%, though, after I think we've just heard numbers like that for the last several years, and that's a year-over-year comparison. So it's like this is down 33% from last year's down around 30%, and that was down from the 30% the year before that. So it's just compounding on top of itself over and over and over again, sort of in this death spiral for hardware. Again, the generation's coming to an end, so maybe this is just exacerbated because of all these problems, and it would be pretty similar regardless. PlayStation 5 also often down year over year, and in double-digit number percentages. But still, Xbox should make up for that on the content side. And yes, overall gaming revenues fell 7% because content and services was also down 5%. So it's just like, man, new leadership over there's got their work cut out for them. And the way that they're talking about it's sort of just like getting back to the basics. I don't know if the consumer has patience for Xbox to go through that again. What do you think, Shawn?
Yeah, that's going to be, it feels like an insurmountable task right there. Because we've talked multiple times this episode about casual versus hardcore players. I think this is an example of Microsoft pissing everyone off inside and outside of gaming. Like, because someone may not know what's going on with Xbox per se, but they know that Windows is pissing them off at work. And they know that Microsoft makes Windows and Xbox. And I think there's a negative view of the company in general right now. When you combine that with the fact that, as Phil Spencer himself said a while back, they lost the PS4 generation. That was the most important one. A lot of people just are PlayStation gamers now who could have been or were previously Xbox gamers. And I think we're seeing that continue to be the case here where people don't care as much about Xbox as they used to. And combine that with the fact that Xbox has made weird decisions. Microsoft has a bad view as a company. I think it's not surprising that everyone's like, maybe I don't need this,
Yep, exactly. It's insurmountable is the word. I think that's probably correct. Especially because the strategy we've heard so far has been like just going back to the way things were before all the most recent marketing initiatives. And it's like, yeah, I mean, things weren't going great before that either. So
it's the Windows 11 strategy. Let's just unfuck it because that's the only way we can return to normalcy.
Yes. I mean, look, if they release great games that people have to buy, that'll change their fate to a certain amount. But the fate of the way people feel about Xbox as a hardware brand, as a platform, that feels pretty set in stone in this moment. But I don't know. I would love to be in a sort of a movie scene later about this, the biography of the Xbox, and be like, look at this dumbass journalist who said this thing, and it said it right before the great comeback that no one saw coming. Sure, go do that, but it just doesn't feel like that's in the cards right now.
I have a quick question for you, Jeff. May just give me your gut reaction here. How are you feeling about Xbox and how the entire Game Pass saga has influenced them? Do you think that maybe that was where things started to turn and go wrong? It was a good idea, but we now saw that now someone has tried it. Maybe that was not the path they should have taken. Is that like part of where their troubles came from?
Yeah, I think that that a lot of Xbox's troubles go back to when they you know what I think about? I think about Tomb Raider. When they got the Tomb Raider exclusivity thing, and that didn't work for them, they're like, okay, we're trying to compete with PlayStation and Nintendo on their terms. We're trying to do the kind of stuff that they do, and when we do it, people don't like it, and it sort of backfires on us. So we got to be the disruptors. We have to try something different, and it's just not in Microsoft's DNA to be a disruptive company, and that's what Game Pass was. And I think they tried their best to sort of to prove that they could be the disruptors, and the idea felt like it could be like one of those things that comes in and shakes up an industry, and gamers still were like, yeah, but it's Xbox. And I'm just like, I like it. It's a good deal right now. I'll buy it for now. And there's 30 million of us that will. And it's just not going to grow past that. And when that didn't work, it's like, okay, so we tried to compete with them on their terms. We tried to compete with them by changing the industry to be the first mover and get that first mover advantage. And that has also pretty much backfired on us. I think, yeah, it's kind of a combination of just, the underlying problem to me seems that Microsoft just has this unlikability, and people were not going to get over that hump and sort of justify to themselves why they should completely abandon PlayStation or Nintendo for Xbox. And when that didn't happen, especially during the PS4 generation, it kind of left them in this really dire state.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because Xbox has been a really cool place to play video games in the past. The original Xbox was kind of scrappy, an interesting idea. 360 was the place to play, and then they lost their way with, as we all know, TV was a huge turning point. I think that's they'll need to right the ship with the Xbox One, combined with Game Pass being a cool idea that, slowly felt like the deal has worsened, So,
the TV thing being like, that's just a bunch of people at Microsoft being like, we have all this data, so we know where the world is going. We know what they're thinking, and we're going to meet them where they are. And everyone's like, no, we're just watching TV between the opportunity to buy new video games, dude. Yep. I know you see us on Netflix because we're installing Netflix on Xbox, and you see a lot of people doing that. Why'd you get in your head that that's now your business? It was such dumb, like working backward from the numbers instead of leading with a vision. And that's honestly Microsoft's real problem. They never have a vision. And the people they put in charge are visionless kind of across the board. And those are the ones that always survive the cuts. So what the hell? Mm-hmm. All right, that does it for the headlines. Let's get to the poll question that we had from yesterday. We have that over here. Let me refresh, get the most up-to-date results. Are you getting Final Fantasy VII Rebirth on Switch 2, yes or no? 14% said yes. 86% said no. That's a pretty decent response for a game that's been out for a very long time, and people have had a lot of opportunities to play this game.
Yeah,
it's not
definitely.
Very long, but long enough.
Yeah, 2 years is it at this point? It's been a bit. I think the appeal of playing an open world RPG in particular on a handheld though is a good one. That game was, when the PC version came out, it was rough on Steam Deck. So if this one is like stable and reliable, and that's just a fun way to play that game, I could see some people even double dipping. But I think this may be an indicator of Switch 2 version of a game like this, like we talked about with Pragmata and stuff. It does feel supplementary to the library rather than a killer app.
We have a new poll question coming up here in a second. Before we do that, Shawn, tell people where they can find you on the internet, what you have going on, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I'm on the internet everywhere as TurboShawn, SHAWN. You can find me over on Blue Sky there. And also on Twitch, I started the personal stream again. I've been doing some retro achievement stuff for Retro Achievements Wii event. It's been a lot of fun. It is a chill hangout time. I stream Saturday and Sunday because that's what I can manage right now. So, if you're around in the afternoon, I'm on at around 12 Central. And it's a fun time. I plan to start Twilight Princess this Saturday. So I think that'll be an enjoyable time. Like we mentioned at the top, my Invincible versus written review is up on giantbomb.com right now. Go read it. I know I gave a lot of my thoughts at the top here, but I do have even more to explain to the audience if they want to hear it. So you're may if you're on the fence about this one and you want to know even more about what I think of it, go check that out. And hey, if you prefer watching things, me and Mike have a quick look of Invincible versus going up. Plan is later today. There are some capture restrictions we're working within, so it might go up towards the end of today is when you should keep an eye out for that on YouTube and the website.
Yeah, people, this audience kind of knows, like, yeah, sometimes we can just run into these things where it's like, we'd like to get the quick look out earlier, but we'll just put it up at launch and avoid all these problems. So look out for that, everybody.
Yep.
All right, let's see here. New poll question. Do you play racing games? Yes, all the time. Yes, the really good ones, or no. Those are your options. We'll get the results tomorrow. Talk about it on Game Mess Mornings here on Giant Bomb. Speaking of Giant Bomb, Shawn just mentioned a bunch of stuff you can find on the site. Coming up, we'll have Voicemail Dump Truck. It's Thursday, everybody. Hang out for that later on. Tomorrow's UPF. We'll be just chilling for that one. I think we're going to do a grab bag still. Can't remember if that's changed.
Sounds right.
We have some... And people enjoy that scam line. We got some fun stuff planned for that. Everybody, stick around.
Do we still have a friend on the dump truck this week? Is that what this week is? No, dang. Okay, stuff happens.
Yes, stuff happens.
They
exactly.
just had to be important at their job.
Dang.
Gross.
Nikki outgrew us. I can't believe
I know.
this.
It sucks. How dare they?
I mean that makes sense. Nikki's kind of fucking cool.
It does make a lot of sense. All right. Well, we'll get Nikki on something here eventually again. God. All right. Let's see here. We did the poll question. I think we did that. We talked about what's happening on the site. Just go to giantbomb.com, everybody. Cool stuff happening over there. Chuck worked hard on that website. Go enjoy it. All right. Let's get done with this. Shawn, thank you so much for hanging out with me today and talk about video games, man. I appreciate it.
Oh, it was a fun time, Jeff. Thanks for having me on today.
Yeah, I'm glad we got those insights on Invincible. Looking forward to playing that. Looking forward to seeing y'all next time we do this show. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. You are the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.